Hello there, guys. Welcome back to another episode of E&Ftv. Today, we are joined by my very good friend, work wife, and all-round lover, Adrienne from Right Revenue. Adrienne, thank you so much for joining me.
You're very welcome. What an introduction. I wish I could take all the work husband, yes. The rest I'm not sure I'm taking these boxes yet, but keeping options open, Tom.
Love that. Love it. I love it. I love it. I want to extend an opportunity for you, just in case. I can't imagine there's anyone that tunes into my channel that won't know who you are. But do you just want to give a quick overview of who you are, what Right Revenue is, and what you do?
Sure. So I founded Right Revenue a few years ago. I actually couldn't even tell you exactly when because then COVID hit in the middle of it, and I don't want to think about that. But I very proudly say I'm a hotelier first and foremost.
Yep.
I've come through hotel life, fell into the world of revenue management. I think actually about 27 years ago. That's
Right.
that's terrifying. And was doing some consultancy for hotels, and just knew I wasn't doing a particularly good job on spreadsheets and trying to do strategy. That as soon as I walked out the door, it was gone. So I
Mm.
had this crazy idea to start a business when I think I was about 48, to start a tech business.
Right.
Um, and gosh, did I have to learn fast. But yeah, we have a company called Right Revenue. We're
Yep.
based in Northern Ireland. We are really looking at independent, non-branded hotels because one, it's a market I know very, very well, but also I always felt that they were not the underdogs, but they were a little bit left behind when it came to tech because some of the tech providers
Sure.
were looking at the brands and the bigger people, and I just wanted to have tech that was built by revenue managers for revenue managers, and that it was all the great, sexy number crunching goes on in the background,
Yeah.
but we just put things in a very straightforward way. There's a problem to solve, and we wanted to solve it in the easiest way that we possibly could.
Amazing. Fantastic. 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 So for anyone, and again, I can't imagine there is anyone watching this that doesn't know who Adrienne is. But if you don't know who Adrienne is, you want to talk about Adrienne and sorry, talk to Adrienne about what she can offer with regards to Right Revenue. I know that she and her team would love to hear from you, so please do. I'll put her details down below, and you can get in touch with her. So Adrienne, there's a few things that I want to catch up with you on because this is not the first time you've been on the show.
Yep.
We had a fantastic chat a couple of years ago. What I would love to start with is having a bit of a catch up on what's been going on with Right Revenue. What have you guys been up to? Growth, product, whatever. I want you to take it wherever you want to take it. But I'm so, because I've seen how busy you are. And I think anyone that knows you knows that you're incredibly busy. You're always up to something. So, what's been going on with Right Revenue? Give us a bit of an idea.
Gosh, I can't even remember the last time we spoke, Tom, but I
Mhm.
guess for us, there's been development in lots of different areas. So
Yeah.
we definitely have more team members now, which is great.
Yeah.
So we've got Lisa's just joined us in sales. She's based in Cambridge, so she's looking after sales in England. We've got Chrissy in Ireland now, and we're just recruiting again in Scotland. We have
Yeah.
expanded our customer success team, and that is super important to us
Mm.
because what again the culture and ethos of our business is not just to provide tech. As I said right
Yeah.
at the beginning, we are hoteliers with great tech to back that up. So having customer success, high touch points, getting to know your business in there with our armbands on, mentoring, supporting. We don't do the actual nuts and bolts of the revenue management. We don't change rates or anything.
Sure.
We want to feel that we're an extended part of the hotels team. So we've
Yeah.
been expanding the team. That's on the people side. On the product side, we spent 18 months building and 6 months releasing a brand new pricing algorithm. And I'm very open and honest in saying why we did that.
Yeah.
It cost a fortune, gave me grey hair and another brain problem. But as you well know, that's always the case. But we had, as a company, jumped on the bandwagon of AI really quickly when we first started to
Yeah.
build Right Revenue. Staycation happened and we deep tech and it had learnt
Yeah.
the trends of staycation. So we knew that was not going to work. We were finding hotels for hotels whose strategy hadn't changed, our pricing was working really well. But if you had a change of strategy or change of market or whatever, our tech had learnt staycation trends. So we went out to all of our lovely hotel partners and said, bear with us, we're going to do this all over again. So now we've got really incredible tech, which we've named ADA, a
Yeah.
nod to the wonderful Ada Lovelace, but stands for Advanced Demand Algorithm. So we
Yeah.
spent 18 months building that, 6 months releasing it to all of our hotels, and we're still adding to it and making it even more special. But that was a huge commitment for the company to do. But we're delighted. We're delighted with the results. The feedback from our hotel partners are amazing. So yeah, that's been a big project, and we've lots and lots more planned. We have our product development roadmap planned for this year. We've shared it with all of our partners. They know what they're getting when they're getting it. Yeah, we've lots of exciting stuff planned, Tom. So watch this space.
Absolutely. As I say, you're always up to something. And I remember when you were first talking about the product that you launched with regards to focusing on AI, and you absolutely were at the front of that. There's no doubt about that. And I know that it's only strengthened what you've got, what you're doing for your clients. So yeah, and again, that's one of the reasons I wanted to sort of touch on that, because that definitely hadn't launched when we last spoke. Now, coming on to the revenue manager side, because I know you and I have had this conversation, and it's it's one that continues to be debated, and I still go back to, it was Hosspace 2023, I think, and you'll know this because I I was particularly outspoken that day in the audience. But there was, I won't mention the name, but there was a tech solution, a revenue management system, and they had a representative on the panel, on the stage. And he said, he gave an analogy, and I'm going to shorten it, obviously, but there was basically a revenue management system, a revenue manager, and a dog. And he said, talking about the system and this, that, and the other. And he said, I bet you're wondering why the dog's there. And he basically said the dog is there to keep the revenue manager away from the system. And to me, I couldn't help afterwards when there were Q&A, and I just had to put my hand up. And I wasn't particularly happy about the analogy. But the question stands, especially with the age of AI, especially with the tech that's becoming more and more sophisticated, more and more advanced, developing every single year. Is the revenue manager becoming extinct?
I remember that moment, and I think there was lots
Yeah.
of cheering and whooping from my seat when you got
Yeah.
up and responded to that. And I actually think that very same person was on a panel with me the following year and said exactly the
I didn't
same
realize that.
thing. Yeah. So no, okay. So here's the absolute truth. All revenue management systems do is run maths. We look at trends. We look at how
Yeah.
we do that is really clever and maybe different than some systems. Um, but we're looking at math, we're looking at data, and we know that data, you know, there's always business trends that you can analyze. Of course, there are. People are creatures of habit, and there's business trends that you can analyze. We do that. We present data back to hotels. We present forecasting, great recommendations,
Yeah.
lots of reporting, all of that stuff. But it's math, Tom. Okay, it's math. And
Yeah.
let's be honest, we all know, mathematicians know, you can make math say anything.
Sure.
Um, so we always say we do the smarts so you can do the strategy. So we are delivering the math so that your team can actually do what they should be doing, and that is
Yeah.
forward planning, strategizing. We can show you the need dates. We can tell you, here's what we think you should be doing there, but that may or may not fit your strategy.
Hmm.
You may see something in our figures that makes you think of something else. And I've told this story to you before. When I worked as a consultant, I was sitting in a beautiful four-star hotel in Northern Ireland. And when I was a consultant, I loved to work in reception
Hmm.
because that's where you learned so much. And I was working in reception one day, and I could see a bridal show round going on. And the family came and they sat in the seats next to me, I worked for a while, and I went back into back office. And the wedding coordinator came in and went, Adrienne, I need to block out 40 rooms for that bride and on this date and whatever. And I said to her, that wedding, I'm not blocking those rooms. That wedding is never going to happen.
Mm.
He hates her. That's not going to happen. And she was like, oh, right, okay. The wedding didn't happen, okay? And that's where a system can tell you something. If those rooms had been put in, the hotel's strategy would have changed. You need people to understand people. We are a
Yeah.
hospitality industry. So your team understand what is coming, the ebb and flow of people in and out of your hotel, what they're
Yeah.
saying, what they're feeling, the service levels, how your staff are, what's your general manager like, what's your sales team like. All of those things are make us human and make us react in a certain way.
Yeah.
And no one can do that. So I think if I was going into a hotel now to be a revenue manager, I would insist on the tech. Like I wouldn't want to do my job without the tech. The
Yeah.
reason I wouldn't want to do my job without the tech is I would want it to do the heavy lifting so I could try and do the clever stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hand in hand. Get the dog out of my way. Get the
Yeah.
dog out of my way, for sure.
Yeah. We're dog lovers, by the way, on this channel, but get the
Oh,
dog out of the
absolutely. Get the dog
way.
out.
No, but I completely agree with you, and I don't think this sort of I almost don't like the notion or the track that this discussion takes us down from when every time we go to a conference because it's one of those where I believe the discussion needs to happen, but the way it's framed is almost like they're trying to make revenue managers obsolete. They're trying their best, and it's like, hold on, your piece of tech is there to complement, it's there to enhance, it's there to help. And that again, that analogy always stuck with me. Just the sort of the almost disdain there of the dog is just there to keep the revenue manager away from the system because the system is absolutely fine and leave it to do its thing. And that's it's just that notion of why can't we frame this as revenue management systems or just tech in general there to simply help, and that's all it needs to do, right? It can continue to advance, and as you say, it takes the heavy lifting, it takes the menial stuff, it takes all of that off your shoulders so you can be a more strategic, more commercial, more present industry leader.
Completely
That's
agree.
what it's there for.
Something you've just put a thought in my mind,
Yeah.
Tom, and I'm going to go back to that panel that I sat on when a particular person was asked. I was asked first, when you're developing, where do you start? Like when you're looking at
Yep.
what we're doing with your system, where do you start? And I said, the people. It's always
Yep.
the people. We talk to our hotels and we listen to what they're saying and we take all of their feedback on board and we look at how we could develop our product to make it fit, not fit, but work better in the
Yeah.
industry. And the person on the panel disagreed and said, no, you product development, you always need to look at the data. The data should be forcing the
Mm.
development. And I strongly believe that actually good revenue managers, commercial leaders help tech providers
Yep.
shape their product because
Yep.
they know what tools they need. They know something else has changed in the market. I now need to be measuring X. And when you sit back as a tech provider and think, actually, that's a really good suggestion. If I built that or made that as an addition to some of the reports or some of the dashboards, that would be really useful. And that feedback comes from the relationship that we have with our hotel partners because that's really, really important to us. We want that. I said at the beginning, we want to feel like we're an extended part of the hotel's team, but we also want that feedback that people feel that they're able to influence our product. We don't have a camel with 20 humps, but if it's
Yep.
a really good suggestion and we see the industry going in a certain way, we sit on these panels, we go to these conferences, we hear about the stuff that's happening in the market, and you think,
Mm.
actually, I could do that really well if I just did X to my
Yep.
product. And that's, I think it's always has to start with people. And I will put my flag in the ground
Mm.
and my head above the parapet and be shot at, but I will stand my ground. It's people that should influence your product for sure.
Completely agree. Completely agree. And we'll continue to shout that fact at every conference that we go to. And again, I when I did raise my hand, my heart was beating out my chest. I was like, shit, I don't want to sound like an idiot here or whatever. And when I sort of put it to the person, they knew why I was saying it. But as you said, the response in the room was just like, here, here. Do you know what I mean? Because I just thought, you're talking to an audience, and there are a proportion of this audience that are very much in revenue management, celebrate revenue management, or are involved in the advancement of revenue management. So it's sort of like, and it did very well to create a discourse and a true debate, I suppose, which I love. There's nothing worse than a panel where everyone just nods and agrees with everybody. You know what I mean? Like, yes, yes, that's all great. And
That's never
the
going to happen
audience
if
then
you
are
and I.
just like, okay.
Yeah, it's never going to happen if you and I are on the panel, Tom.
No,
Whatever.
no, I was going to say, if
Uh,
Adrian's on a panel, it's going to kick off. I was half expecting you to like launch over.
Keep the girl out of Belfast. That's all I'm saying.
Oh God. Right. So this brings me on to well, it's interesting you talked about where where tech companies will sort of get their insight into how the tech develops, right? Because you were saying that, your focus is much more on the sort of human element, talking to people and understanding what hoteliers actually want. Whereas the data sort of function of, we need to focus on the data. What's the data telling us? And then we'll develop that. Because you do have such a close relationship with the clients that you have, and also obviously the wider industry, an interesting question for you would be, what trends are you seeing from talking to hoteliers about what they're looking for in, let's say, specifically the RMS world, because that's where you're sat. So, what trends are you seeing from what clients are really asking for, and what would we find interesting in that?
I think there's a swipe story to this, Tom. And you and I were both at Global Revenue Forum last week, and
Yeah.
one of the presenters put on this slide saying, here's the trends. Here's the trends for the last 4
Yes.
years. This is the booking patterns. This is lead times. All of that. For the UK and the spikes every month, and we could see, the summer and the winter and whatever.
Yeah.
And and it was a whole conversation around the new normal and people's buying behaviour has changed since COVID and whatever. And then he layered over stats from like 10 years ago, and it was
Yeah.
exactly the same patterns.
Yeah.
So I think we're all a bit tired of hearing the new normal. We're all a little bit jaded with the words AI,
Yeah.
and we all know that we're adopting AI. Learning has been in revenue management systems for as long as I can remember.
Hmm.
Um, and that's all great. But if you ask me, what do revenue professionals want? I think we are, as revenue professionals, we're turning more now to understanding cost of acquisition, incremental spend, risk of cancellation. So we're looking at that, like you and I have had this discussion more about the profit.
Yeah.
How, what is the cost of bringing that business in? How much money am I actually going to make on that rate? Is it better to take a rate at 150 and it costs me 30% to bring it in and no chance of incremental spend, or is it better to
Mm.
take this later? And I think revenue professionals are now looking for that amount of data. Where again the whole rate parity is, we're seeing hotels still getting undercut by the OTAs. So
Yeah.
that all of that of learning which channels are good for you, which channels are detrimental, where is good for your business, what is good business, what is bad business,
Sure.
um, is really important, and the impact on the other outlets
Yeah.
in your property. So I think revenue, and again we've had this discussion, revenue managers are for a long time have been less focused on rooms and but more on the other outlets, and I think that continues. And I'm going to give you a plug here because I think you've been instrumental in a massive change in the industry in the last couple of years
Oh.
by bringing together the meetings and events team.
Ah,
You came
yes.
up with an M&E strategy,
Sure.
and I love hearing that conversation, and I love where the industry are going, and that's where you've taken it.
Mm.
So we're all very grateful for that, Tom, and everything that you've done. That, and I'm going to give you a plug of go to your website, download the white paper, please. But I think that's really important now, is understanding not just the room side, but the M&E side, the profit side, the cost side. I think there's so much going on in revenue, and that's why it's always an exciting place to
Yeah. No, and again, this is one thing I've always admired is that you are so well connected with what your clients want and you act on that. So that's, and again, I think if tech companies are, if that's the way that they work, that's got to be a positive for everybody concerned. And that's something I've always admired and always watched with you is that how you develop your product. As you said, it starts with the people. It starts with asking them very clear questions. And I suppose there's a sort of I imagine there'll be a back and forth, but it's not only is about understanding what the client wants, but I also imagine it's about managing expectations of what is available, I suppose. Because again, I think people will just I'm not I'm not sort of putting this on anybody in particular, but AI just seems to be a phrase now that people just say because it's just the thing to say.
yeah,
And I think again, it's understanding how it can be used as a tool in the actual real world of the commercial space. And if you're not completely au fait or if you're not completely sure about what you're talking about, again, right revenue and you specifically as well are able to have that very open discussion to say, this is what it would actually mean for your business. It's not here to solve everything. It's not here to just fix everything. It's
yeah.
here as a tool, along with the rest of the tech, to be able to enhance and enable you to do more with what you've got. Does that sound fair?
Absolutely. I think I was at a conference in London about a year ago, and there was speaking at it, and there was a lovely lady from Hamilton Hotel Party, so a management company,
Yes.
and she said something, and she said, just think of AI as a mini me, just somebody to do like run and do your tasks, like your little PA.
Right.
And that struck a chord with me because I think I'm very wary of companies that hang their hat and say the word AI too often.
Yeah.
Just I'm very wary of that. AI is literally learning. That's
Yeah.
in revenue management
Yeah.
terms, it's just learning. It's just understanding patterns and learning. What I think is really interesting coming up is sort of we've already introduced some natural language into our system. So when we're asking recommending a rate, a revenue manager can see very clearly, here's why, this is what's happening behind. We tell one people this is why our system is telling you you should change your rate.
Yeah.
But I think that natural language coming through, that AI over BI over AI, all of that stuff that's coming is actually really interesting. And it's interesting because it will allow what we've always said are really clever revenue professionals to do the job better.
Yeah.
It's like, no one would clean their house now without, having a Hoover and, all of these things that, 50 years ago or 100 years ago wouldn't have been around. So we need those tools, just ordinary tools to help us do our job better. And that's all
Yeah.
it is. Stop over egging it, stop making it
Mm-hmm.
sound like
Yeah.
it's something that we should all be that, oh, my system's got AI and you should be, so grateful. No, it's just part of what we do. And it's not scary. It's
Mm.
not huge. It shouldn't be something that you are oh my God, I'm so scared about this, or I don't know
Yeah.
how to handle it. It's not. It's just something simple. It's there to help you do your job better. And let's take it one step at a time, and
Yeah.
and introduce interesting things into your organization that you can manage. And
Yeah.
that's hopefully what we're trying to do.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Now, in terms of so we've discussed what Right Revenue has had going on since you were last on the show. What's the future hold for you guys? What have you got going on over the next sort of 12 to 18 months?
Sure.
Anything exciting you want to share?
Well, we're recruiting again, so we've got another sales
Oh,
that we're looking for, which is great.
yeah,
Another couple of customer success people and another developer because we're developing the product now at scale. And we've been very lucky to have been chosen by AWS as one of only two companies in the UK that they are supporting. So we're getting to play in the AWS Amazon Web Services.
right.
We get to play with their tech, which is incredible, incredibly exciting.
Yeah,
Our CTO Michael, so that's happening, which is great. And we're just about to launch will actually go out into market next week, and that's our little budget builder. And again,
Right.
just a little tool for people who are writing budgets. We make it 1,000 times easier for you. So
Oh,
lots of
amazing.
really sexy tech around that on how to write budgets. And yeah, our focus for the next while is that we'll be part of our team, always constantly looking at the AI again
Yeah.
on how we can make that a little bit cleverer and other things impacting it. But actually, the big focus for the other part of our team is our reporting, and we are doing lots of really interesting, sexy things with bespoke reporting that you'll be able to manipulate. Every user will be able to manipulate, and instead of giving set amount of data, that they'll be able to number crunch lots of things going on. So that's really, really exciting for us as well. So yeah, lots of really interesting things going on and potentially new growth areas. So yeah, watch the space. There's lots going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Adrienne, I want to say a massive, massive thank you to you for taking the time out of your diary. I know how incredibly busy you are, and here, there, and everywhere, and you're always doing something, as I said earlier in the episode. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, you're welcome. I love speaking to you, my work husband.
There you go. And guys, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. We hope that you've got to this far in the episode. And if you have, please don't forget to click that subscribe button down below. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We are trying to bring you content every single week with fantastic guests, just like Adrienne. We also obviously do our Hot Wings challenges, and we take you to various different events that we go to throughout the year. But to do that, to do all of this, to do the YouTube stuff, we need a fantastic community around us. So don't forget, click that subscribe button. I think we just hit over 400 subscribers towards the end of last year. So we want to boost that up and get to 500 this year. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to find out more about what Adrienne and her team can do at Right Revenue for your business, or you want to find out more about the budget new product that Adrienne's been launching, I know that her and her team would love to hear from you. So I will be putting all of their details down below. Click that and get in touch with Adrienne directly. So for now, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in next week's episode. Bye bye.